I would.
Okay, we're good. All right, I guess. Yay. Okay, so start of the workshop. Hey y'all, we're Convergent, and I'm here today to talk about big tech from a multidisciplinary perspective. I'm Ryan. I'm currently the president of Convergent. And yeah, I love everything to do with technology, especially like putting together all different types of people and concepts together. So I think this is an amazing topic to cover specifically right now because multidisciplinary is a really big part of a hackathon project. You need to cover all your basics. Okay, so the first question I want to ask is, what is big tech? And the definition is the name given to the largest 4 to 5 companies in the IT industry. We'll go ahead and just put a rip next to Netflix because they're not in big tech anymore. So this covers many industries. So e-commerce, very, very obviously is Amazon. They're the leading player there. And then online advertising, consumer electronics, cloud computing, media streaming, and self-driving. So there's a lot of different kind of industries that big tech covers. But the surprising thing is that, they fall between these like 4 or 5 companies. A lot of the market share is sort of kind of given to these 5 companies. So the question I want to ask the audience is like, can you visualize a day without living in the ecosystem created by any of these companies? And if so, how? Like I was just going through this like thought experiment in my head, like just going online, going on like Chrome or like searching something up, you're already using a browser created by either Apple or Google, right? So just basic things like that, you really can't get away from the environment these companies create. So it's crazy to think about. So big tech. And the history of big tech kind of was coined around 2013. That was when the first term kind of happened. And it's because economists saw signs of unregulated growth. There wasn't any like government kind of action put upon the growth of this industry and these companies. And especially after the dot-com bubble, like these companies weren't small enough to be considered startups anymore. And so they continued to grow. And so like this big technology industry was kind of booming around 2013. And then this term became sort of like animus, like negative connotation around 2017 because of the Russian interference in the 2016 election. So that's all of this stuff here with like downsizing like Hillary Clinton's campaign and like prioritizing Trump, all of that kind of stuff. That made like big tech very scary to the world. And we'll cover those concepts later in the workshop as well. And so how did big tech grow? That's another big thing. Like all of these companies sort of started at their roots. And there's essentially 2 steps. So the first thing they did was specialize in a certain like market area. And then they grew specifically because of acquisition. And so the first example here on the screen is Apple. They started a lot with like hardware, so personal computing, and then creating software like iTunes and basic applications like Safari and things like that. And then as the years went by, starting in like 2002, all the way until currently, like they've continued to make acquisitions. As you can see there's 96 specifically focusing on like mapping, like Google Maps. And I know Siri essentially was like an acquisition that they bought and they just branded it as Siri. Amazon is a very big example of this also, specifically within cloud computing. And the graph you see on the bottom right here shows that like Amazon literally could not survive without their acquisitions in cloud computing. Like AWS is such a big part of their business now that like their profits would not be positive if not for AWS. So the point here is that like, you could start off with something and really specialize in something, but you can't really grow and become a market leader without growing into a bunch of other industries and kind of taking what other people have sort of succeeded in and sort of making it your own. It's kind of, not a really good precedent to set, but these companies have the power to do so just because of, how big they are. So one case study that I wanted to sort of show here is the Newton message pad for Apple. You might know of this, you might not know of this, but it was known as a really big flop. And so they released this and like the handwriting gesture recognition was really bad. And the only thing it could do was like basic faxing and messaging, which I guess it was meant to do. But the technology at the time wasn't advanced enough to like make the functionality any much better. And so 3 things I want to cover here are like different improvements that they made from a technological, product, and design standpoint. The first one is just keeping up with the times in terms of innovation, and then including more gesture controls, internet availability. And then from a product side, marketing this device away from professionals, right? Newton was very professional oriented, like people just wanted to fax documents and kind of send emails and stuff through this device. And so moving away from that, becoming more trendy and necessary for like everyday use, efficiency, and being multi-purpose. And then on design side, like focusing on a premium minimalist product design and a frictionless UX, that all led them to kind of transform this original failure of an idea of a message pad to the iPhone, which is now like 60 or 70% of their profits every year. So it's pretty crazy to see. And I think it's very obvious once you have like the comparison of the two devices. But you know, the iPhone, I guess when it came out, everyone was like, oh, this is like such a revolutionary device. It wasn't really, right? Like it was very much inspired by previous ideas, and all they did was iterate on certain kind of topics there. So all three pillars they sort of improved on, and then it kind of led to success in the very end. And then another case study is Apple II. And so they did this one right, like out of the box. This wasn't a failure of an idea. And so on the tech side, they did really good with implementing a basic language into their permanent memory. And then floppy disks, that was, you know, really big thing at the time, really new. And so they wanted to incorporate that new technology into this device. And then VisiCalc, which is like the early predecessor of Excel. And so they had that integrated and baked in. And so all of that functionality and technology created like a demand. And everyday people, I guess that also goes along with product, right? Everyday people see the use. And it was also a very simple all-in-one design that was self-contained. So there was no need for separate case and power supply. So it was all in one. And I think this is something that Apple does really well. It's just like very simple, very easy for everyday users to understand. And so that's sort of their positioning in the market. So as you can see, both in all tech, business, and design, like they're doing all of these things for the simplicity of the user. So all different companies have a different kind of view on this. And this is just like a marketing thing for Apple II. So you can see it's very simple on the first glance, but then they also like have this second kind of page here that goes into all the technical details. So just sort of a balance between the two concepts there. And Google takes a very different approach, I think. This is just a comparison. So I guess in the status quo, we see Apple as like the leader in like hardware, like consumer products. Google also has a hand in this. Amazon is the leader in like cloud computing, and like Google also has like Google Cloud. But not only that, like they have all of these other products on the right-hand side here, like Google Flights, Google Playbook, Google Slides, like all of this stuff. And this is, you know, not motivated solely by like them, Google making a choice that's good for themselves. It's sort of like seeing what other people are doing and just like making more products as a result of it. So just a different strategy. I think they focus less on specialization and then just more acquiring these different technologies and then like rebranding it as like a Google product. But, you know, I don't know if all of these products are exceptionally successful or the market leader, but, you know, they do have a hand in everything, which is, I think, their positioning in the market. Cool. So we have an activity. I don't know if y'all want to do this, but this is just a quick 5-minute like prototyping activity. Pretend you're developing a new product for Apple or Meta, and then create a low fidelity prototype or a sketch, and then just write a user story for it. So that's the template for a user story. As a blank, I want to do an action so that you can get some sort of outcome. So if you want to go ahead and do that, you can. But I'm not sure. Do y'all want to make? We can go through it. If you have an idea, you can, you know, sort of draw it out, but we can also discuss it as a group if you want to. So yeah. What does your head jump to as to like what user you would sort of target with this product? I guess we can start with that.
It can be any
Yeah, like hackathon organizers. Yeah. That's a very honest answer. I like that. So we can go through with that, like hackathon organizers. What are sort of the big challenges that y'all have gone through, like in organizing this hackathon? Yeah, go for it.
Come on, y'all are all. Wow. Okay. What's a hard one? Getting like working like I was working with John and getting good like acrylic like painted like, acrylic awards was really hard. Acrylic was really hard to work with. But like the cutting and etching it.
Oh, did y'all make the awards yourselves?
Yeah.
Okay.
Some of them,
guess it's more of like
The
a,
trophies.
I guess it's like more of like a maker like type of user, right? Like a
Mhm.
maker-based, like tinkers,
Gotcha.
DIY people. that type
Yeah,
of-
like people who are trying to create, like
Mhm.
sort of like 3D printing,
Yeah.
right? Like just modifying
They're
something.
What they call that group of people, but makers.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Another thing was dealing with the purchasing office was really annoying.
Bureaucracy is the worst.
See, I only interacted with the purchasing office. Like I've been over to their office 3 times and all 3 times it was closed. So I
Mm,
was just slightly annoying.
gotcha.
Bureaucracy is-
I guess how could Apple or Meta create something that helps that? That's the next question, right? We have these two user groups, right? Like purchasing, like I guess working with the purchasing department, and then like this tinkerer group.
And then it taps into everyone's data.
They do be doing that.
So we know when to do.
That used to be for universities and such else.
Mhm.
They can go back to their roots and like create some sort of tool that allows students to interact better with their like local like school and ministry.
Interesting.
Or like Apple has products that like pretty much every student uses, right? Like
Yeah.
Apple computer or phone or whatever, right? Like most of us are on Apple. And so
In America.
yeah.
Yes, innovative.
In the US, correct. So with that, like if we are like talking about the makerspace or thinkerspace, right? Like Apple can make like a portable thinkerspace for people to like work with or like do things with that could also help their technology with. I don't know, like if you need to make something or like if you want to make like Apple assets, you could like make it in the thinkerspace.
Yeah.
And then you could also sell it to Apple. They can like prototype it over there. Right?
Ooh,
Like it would also be profit for Apple to give us
interesting.
ways to make it them better.
You know what would be Apple, like a combined laser cutter and 3D printer.
Yeah, they would combine literally every function into one, and then let's see. I like the concept of like building something and then Apple sort of
Makes it.
yeah, I can.
It's like the very like they'll put all of the tools into like one white box,
Yeah,
and you don't know what's happening in the box,
but it works. But it works, you know.
What do you think? What do you want from Apple?
Yeah.
10 cooks walking in like 5 minutes. What do you want from it?
My computer will last longer.
Oh,
Well, what doesn't last long?
is it the battery? The battery. Interesting. Okay,
Okay.
gotcha.
Anything else? Another thing?
Computer is so fast after like having it working.
Okay. Fast computers,
Fast computers. Gotcha.
longer lasting.
Longer lasting batteries.
faster computers.
Faster computers.
Or also like not make their systems because we learned the whole thing before we even use it. Like Samsung.
Yeah, yeah.
Everything control changes to command.
Yeah, they
You can like if you do control arrow keys, like you switch between the things.
Okay. Easier to find. True.
user files easier to find.
Yeah,
Okay, in
that's-
what
that
way?
is, Like,
Like in Finder?
Yeah.
Okay.
so confusing.
It is.
Yeah, go.
Keep going, keep going. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
There's like, I think like the standard.
It's like application.
Like applications download, but it doesn't have like your user file.
Yeah.
Oh, you can access a root. Yeah.
You can. Not through Finder. That's a big thing. Okay.
And you can't see hidden folders through Finder.
Oh.
You have to manually type in the
Yeah,
path.
like,
Yeah.
You know what I really hate, like coming from Windows?
Oh,
If you're on Windows, like if you're in the directory and you in like a folder and you want to make a new document, whatever it is, you can right click it and click new document. But if I, for God forbid, want to make a group Word doc on my desktop, I have to open up Word, create a new doc,
And then save it. Exactly. Yep.
And what if I want a text file? What if I want an image? What am I gonna do? No, I low key like my laptop. That's the one thing I hate.
Agree.
Good, but like
Yeah.
it's decent. Like
Yeah.
you just come and obviously you have to buy it. But like it's not the greatest.
My right to repair.
I was about to say.
Yeah.
That's a big thing, right to repair. Yep.
Yeah, so this is like completely off topic, but like John Deere showed up to campus like a week ago.
Like the
John Deere.
John Deere,
John
John
Deere. Technology into their tractors and disables their tractors for farmers when they try to repair. When their farmers try to repair their tractor, it disables
It'd
their
be
tractor.
best
You can't think.
how can they sense that?
The new
New
MacBooks,
technology
have you
to
seen them?
sense
They're ridiculous.
That's so that's so extra. But
One, like my battery.
They're recruiting UC students for their like tech hub.
uh-huh. John Deere.
And they're currently in a lawsuit right now against Charter.
Oh, yeah.
And I hope they lose. But anyways.
No, the Finder was actually a really good.
No, the Finder is a very
Apple is based on Unix, but like their Finder system just makes no sense. There's like the recents, but then you have your iCloud drive, which is like your documents.
the recents doesn't work.
Yeah.
Not your iCloud.
Your
Like the
Finder also doesn't do a good job of finding stuff. Like, I don't know what it does. Like, the Spotlight search works better than.
Yeah, Spotlight search is good.
I like stuff on Spotlight.
That is true though. Coming from Windows,
Yeah.
like Spotlight is the god.
I used like a Mac like briefly for like 5 years ago, and like Spotlight is like I just remember it being so good, and it's just like
Yeah,
Yeah.
Spotlight's good. Finder's trash.
Low key though, like it's Spotlight's kind of annoying when you want to do when you
Oh,
want to
you
use
know what the
it.
other thing I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You can have a screenshot, but
Uh-huh.
default is it syncs to desktop. So then
It does.
you have a different command, then you have to Command Shift 5, and then you can change the where it saves.
Wait, Command Shift 4 is the one where.
Command Shift 4 you drag and then you can right click.
The whole screen.
And then Command Shift 5, you can touch the
Shift 5.
So like
Interesting.
Command Shift 5.
I'll have to.
You put it on the board, and then.
No, but you didn't Command Shift 4.
Hmm.
You put it on the- You just.
Oh.
you-
Right click on the.
So like the little icon will come in the corner after you screenshot it, right click on it, and you just like.
That's too much work, so then I can just customize Command Shift 5, and I don't have to worry about it after. Like, once you-
Oh, so it automatically goes to clipboard.
Yeah.
That's
Once you set
that's
it once,
nice.
you don't have to
That's
worry
nice. That's nice. Okay. Well, I guess we I think we've discussed quite a bit.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. But honestly, like I enjoyed this more than the activity, right? Like
We can go
Figure
back
it.
into it if you want.
meta meta rant.
Yeah.
The K drama?
Yeah.
Is it good? Have you watched it? Oh, there's an actual. I was thinking of K drama.
Also, the social dilemma.
Oh,
If you
social
feel like
dilemma.
distrust everything.
Facts. That was the one about the information breach.
Yeah.
The Cambridge Analytica one. Yeah. I'll watch
The,
that
like how
one.
Instagram like profiles you, and then the recommendation system traps
Mm-hmm. Netflix does that too.
you.
But you know,
It's okay. They're dead.
it's okay. Netflix is dead. Ripped Netflix. Okay, so
They lost subscribers for the first time in like 10 years. So like there's and like they're projected to lose even more. So their stock nosedive. Their stock is like 30% down.
Because of the Disney Plus and HBO.
mhm.
Yeah.
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 It
That's
was
also
$14 a month.
The CEO wants to add ads.
No.
As a lowers your subscription, like nobody wants. But
Like Hulu. Yeah. And then password sharing.
Password sharing.
The password sharing thing is insane. I think all of this like press, right, is very negative. Like maybe if they like implemented it not in the press, it wouldn't have garnered this reaction.
No, but people would still like post about it on.
They
social
would.
media.
They would.
But I also think like
It's bad
doing
design.
all of them at
I
once.
think that they-
That's the thing. That's the point, right? Like the fact that they like added on top of each other, like, okay, we're gonna increase the subscription, do the password sharing, and then we
But
also
at
lost
the same time,
subscribers.
Their financials are probably so shit that they have to do it.
Yeah.
That's
They
true.
probably have to.
It was definitely out of necessity.
Also,
But-
ads also have.
It's okay. I'm a HBO Max kind of guy now, so they did.
Yeah.
Pirating forever.
Now HBO has some good stuff. I like
True.
HBO now.
Space pirating software, check your day better.
Is it?
Yeah.
What do they
because
do?
I'm
Like-
I'm struggling to pirate stuff.
Nah.
Yeah.
Where?
That movie's a hero. It had everything in a month.
That movie is corrupted like every 3 months, and then you have a new one and do the same movie.
Yeah, so
I'll put you into this
I'm-
conversation. It just,
You block orange.
watch, it finds us like.
Wait, sorry.
I don't know.
No, y'all are good. I'm gonna just continue going through the slides, but we can do we can share like the pirating links later. Maybe when it's not live streamed, so it's like not incriminating evidence. But okay, this is the last section of the workshop. So just the specific controversies around big tech. So we've talked about quite a few of these, but misinformation is a really big one, specifically on like meta platforms themselves. I think like during COVID and then also during elections and stuff, there's always a concern of just like people, I don't know, from other countries or even in the US, just like writing their own stuff and then censorship stuff. I think Twitter is also a really big company to like have to fight this also. And then with like the whole Elon Musk trying to buy Twitter stuff, like misinformation is going to become a bigger problem. Yeah. So that's a really big deal, specifically just for like free use media platforms that source the content specifically from third parties like users. This is always going to be a big deal. And then unfair competition to smaller companies. This was the whole like monopoly, like lawsuits that all the big tech companies had to go through. And like every single CEO was just sort of there on a WebEx call, just like going through trial. It's kind of funny to watch, but that was the saddest part. But yeah, as you can see here, right, like Amazon Basics, they're always going to be sort of above anyone else, even the sponsors. So just kind of breeds just different competitive standards on each of these platforms. And so that's something to be mindful of as well. And then privacy, that's a big one. There's always going to be like data breaches. And I think security is getting better, but there's like hackers that are continuously trying to get around that. So that's also a big concern. And then this last thing, oligopoly maintenance, is something I learned like really recently because of this workshop, because I was prepping for it. Did y'all know that like Microsoft and Google pay Apple a contracted fee to like put their browsers like as the top lists and the results? And so like that is a way that, big tech is sort of maintaining this oligopoly, just like maintaining the power. Yeah. So.
Another thing that happened that I learned about recently-ish, a few weeks ago, in 2013 or so, around then, like that's when this got released. But Apple, Google, and a few other big tech, or tech companies in general, were like had negotiated like no higher, like they agreed to not compete on salaries of workers. So salaries were stagnating. So like they could get us for cheap. But like since that broke out, there's been competition and now we get money.
Yeah, a lot of money. But yeah, that was a big thing. Insane. But yeah, these are just a few of the big concerns and big issues. And then specifically things that we can do about this, respect user privacy and ethical usage, make different passwords for each one. And then that needs to be respected within the companies themselves. And I think with the media attention and specifically these lawsuits, they are putting more attention onto it. And then let's see. Yeah, that's just a question. If these companies are being required to operate in a certain way outside the United States, we should be looking at, is it working? And will that be better for consumers? So that is just the question the companies should be asking themselves. And then the last thing is just like stay educated, like be aware of these biases, like stay educated on the news, and that'll help us combat that in, providing our data and purchasing decisions. Cool. All right. And then this is just the last slide. How is this useful to people who are doing a hackathon right now? Keep in mind that, all tech products have to consider multidisciplinary factors, specifically tech business design. That's what Convergent sort of emphasizes, right? Like you got to bring all of these three pillars together in order to create a successful technology product. And also in order to appeal to your target end users, which are the people you are solving the problem for. And then failure in tech is normal, as you can see from the Newton message pad. You have to keep iterating your idea, continue doing what is gaining traction, and then stop doing immediately what people aren't receptive to. And then how do you know what people like or don't like? You need to be able to ask them. And so all of these three options are really good for just user analytics and just getting user data. Cool. Any questions? No? All right. I will stop my share.